Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to the D-Pad. I'm your host Brad Davis, and you're watching a show that's all about video games. This is episode number 8, and this episode is going to be dedicated to Madden NFL 12. Now, before we get to my review of the game, a few hours before the game launched, I went to my local GameStop to see what people were looking forward to in this year's game. Find out what a few of them had to say in this segment coming up right now. Alright, well here we are at the Madden 12 launch. As you can see, there's people behind me playing football, a game of football. There's a decent amount of people, but not as many people as there were in previous years. And that could be due to numerous reasons. You know, last year's version of the game wasn't that great. Many people were disappointed by that. So the interest in Madden, you know, might not be as great as it was in previous years. So let's go inside the store and see what people are looking forward to the most in this year's game.
Touchdown! Touchdown!
What are you looking forward to in this year's game?
I'm looking to the franchise mode. I mean, it's deeper, better. Like, you have full control now. I mean, you have a 90-man roster. You can actually make cuts, like in the real game, and actually be a general manager. And I'm hoping to see, like, there's a better celebration in the Super Bowl, hopefully, because, like, Madden 11, it was good. They had Barack Obama in it, but it has to be better. Come on.
Now, were you a big franchise player for the PS2 Maddens?
Yeah, somewhat. I played like a whole lot of like seasons, but then it got too boring for me. So I'm hoping they'll excite it more with the whole general roster. And oh yeah, and the player bidding for the free agency, I'm looking forward to that.
Did you like Madden 11?
It was good at first. I mean, like, it's all new, but the game flow, like, when it proceeds, like, it disappointed me. And, like, that's all they had, and it really didn't separate itself from Madden 10. So I'm hoping that Madden 12 can actually do and go on a whole nother level and upgrade its game.
Touchdown!
It's been the same thing for a couple years now. I want to change.
Looking for a different Madden, something different, you know, just something fun.
Camera though. We have the camera though.
Alright, and as you can see in that video there, I had a pretty good time, and a lot of people were cooperative, and I'd like to thank all of the customers that were there that night. You know, I would also like to thank all the employees that let me do that. Alright, so as you can see, a lot of people were looking forward to this year's game. So, does it meet expectations? Find out in my review of the game coming up right now. It was a pretty crazy offseason for football fans due to the constant lockout talk. Madden NFL 12 is going to release either way, but fortunately, we currently have an NFL season to enjoy alongside the game. This year's game had a lot of hype, especially due to the disappointing quote-unquote improvements that were made to Madden NFL 11. So, does Madden live up to the hype this year? Well, let's start off with Madden 12's gameplay. Madden made many of the same improvements to gameplay that NCAA Football 12 did. The game removed players being sucked into animations. This thus makes the tackling in Madden 12 feel and look more realistic than any other Madden, with various new tackle animations due to its new tackling collision system. In comparison to NCAA Football 12, Madden's tackling feels more real and varied, and this could be in part due to Madden 12's gameplay being slower. Overall, you feel like you have more control over the tackles in Madden 12. The game also added improved zone defense, which makes the passing game harder than it was in previous Maddens. Speaking of the passing game, Madden 12 still suffers from super linebackers, though it is not as bad as it is in NCAA Football 12. The game also still needs to make improvements to ball trajectory as well. When it comes to the run game has been improved mainly due to the lack of suction. The running game is very enjoyable, though somewhat a bit too easy. Overall though, it's a definite improvement over Madden 11's, which I found to be floaty. So, in terms of the gameplay, the game definitely made big improvements, but be prepared to see problems that you may be used to in a Madden game, especially when it comes to the passing game. When it comes to visual presentation, the game made big improvements. Every team has unique entrances, the camera during cutscenes shakes a bit to make things look more like a real live TV broadcast, and the on-screen graphics are the best that they have ever been in any Madden game. Unfortunately though, the extra point halftime show has been completely scrapped and replaced by a very generic and repetitive halftime show. Another disappointing thing is that the game will make some very strange cuts during post-play. While I find the visual presentation to be good in Madden 12, it still isn't to the point that it should be due to many aspects of it being repetitive. In terms of audio presentation, Madden 12 has the worst commentary I've ever heard in a sports game in maybe all of my life. No sports game in 2011 should be referring to players by numbers or calling teams home and away. The game's commentary also changes in quality and volume within sentences. At times the game's commentary sounds high quality, and then in an instant it drops down to sounding like AM radio. It's a mess to put it simply, and really reminds me of this.
Here's that play again. The Falcons set up in the throw set. Gives to the back. Takes it inside. Breaks the tackle. Across the 40, 50, 40, 30. Breaks free. 10. Yes.
The commentary in Madden has shown its age for a while now and has never been that good. This year though, the commentary is basically broken. A very high feature in this year's game was the improved offline franchise mode. Offline franchise during this current gen of Madden has been bare bones and very lacking in comparison to how things were in the last gen Maddens. This year has added various things onto offline franchise mode, and overall I must say that I've been enjoying it. The game's offline franchise mode added things such as cut days, free agent bidding, and more. The game's offline franchise mode still has problems though. The overall interface of the menus in the mode, in my opinion, is not ideal for many of its features. When it comes to playing games in the mode, you may notice a lot of home rain games depending on what team you use during the first years of franchise mode, which can definitely be annoying to some. The game has added dynamic player performance, which changes how certain key players are based on how they play in games during the season. Players can be on hot streaks and cold streaks. This makes the games you play in franchise mode feel more lifelike and more strategic, with you might having to change your go-to guys throughout the season. So overall, while the offline franchise mode does have problems, I find it enjoyable and a definite improvement. Now, due to the improvements in offline franchise mode, you would expect the game to have made improvements to its online franchise mode, but unfortunately, the game's online franchise mode is the same as it was when it was first introduced in Madden and Madden NFL 10. So while it's playable, it's very bare bones. Speaking of online, the game has added online communities. With this, you can join a community or make your own community with a set game difficulty and or set rules on how to play. So if you are tired of playing with people that go for it on 4th down, this is definitely a welcome addition. So overall, Madden NFL 12 is a solid football game and has made many improvements to the disappointing Madden NFL 11. The game focused on things that people wanted in the game for years and did not add gimmicky features such as game flow. Due to that, this year's Madden feels more like an NFL game than any other previous Maddens this gen. Now, even though I find the game to be solid, the game still isn't where it should be in my opinion, even though it's on the right track. The commentary is just terrible, the visual presentation of the game can be repetitive, and some problems in gameplay and bare-bone game modes still have not been addressed. Basically, it's obvious that the game is playing catch-up. So while the game is solid, it just doesn't have the overall polish of sports games such as NBA 2K11, and thus does not really feel like a sports game that was released this year. Alright, so that was my review of Madden NFL 12. And as I said in that review, the game is a solid football game, but it lacks the overall polish to make it a really great football game. But it's on the right track, and hopefully it could get to that point in a couple years. But yeah, Madden NFL 12 feels like the Madden game that we should have got 2 to 3 years ago, in my opinion. Alright, and with that, that ends another episode of the D-Pad. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching the show. Until next time, this is Brad Davis saying goodbye, everybody.